Hey, this is Jeremy Jansen, and here I have for you the video docs for the Filter Research 3 Epic Combinator Distorted Goodbye. If you happen to be a Reason Wizardry subscriber, you'll probably notice this patch from our last issue in December 2011. So it was started there, but it is now finished after much reworking. Let's listen to a dry Rhodes loop first, and then I'll bring in Distorted Goodbye. I'll be honest with you, Distorted Goodbye is one of my favorite patches that I've ever created, and I hope you really like it because there was a massive amount of work that went into it, and as you can hear, it just sounds awesome. Okay, so what's going on here first? Basically, we have 8 distortions, and the source signal is being run through all 8 distortions in parallel. And then these distortions are being sent to this mixer. You can see all 8 of them. And they're being triggered using Thor sequencers in an 8-step sequence. So one is sequenced right after the next. So since this is a sequence, that gives us a lot of power to play around. And I'm going to start doing that now by altering the speed parameter here. So that alters the overall speed of the Thor sequence. And we can also unsync that sequence and get a really fast sequence. Of course, this is linked up with the attack and decay release controls, which set up how quickly each one of these channels rises and falls. Let's get a really slow speed so that you can get a good feel for it. Okay, let's continue on here and let's just switch up to a different Rhodes loop. Alright, so for Rotary 4 we have an overall drive control that controls the drive on all 8 distortions. And on the topic of those distortions, if I scroll down here, you'll see what they're made up of. We have 2 Scream 4s, then a pulverizer, 2 more Scream 4s, and a Line 6 guitar amp, and then 2 more Scream 4s after that. So you could alter that order if you wanted, or change them up, or even put different effects in those places. There's no reason that this patch has to have 8 distortions. It could just as easily have 8 filters, 8 phasers, whatever you like. Alright, so beyond that we have some delay that we can control with a single button. We also have a stereo spread control. Let's just turn off the delay so we can better hear it. You can see exactly what it's doing here. It's panning each one of the distortion channels across the stereo spectrum to give a really wide sound. In concert with the delay, you get an amazing ambience that totally wasn't present in the original sound. For button 4, we have drive morphs, which is what I call it when we change the distortion type on many of the Scream 4s. So this distortion might change to overdrive, etc., etc. So we can just push that, and what you'll hear is that some of the distortions that were on a certain step are now on a different step, so it alters the rhythm of the sequence. Okay, and on the mod wheel, as I've said before, sometimes I don't use rotary 4 for the wet-dry control, and if you don't see it in rotary 4, typically it's going to be on the mod wheel. Now the pitch wheel is pretty special on this patch, and I'll show you how it works. If we push the pitch wheel up, we send the entire mix through a low-pass filter, and that frequency is controlled by the amount of pitch wheel above 50%. Now, similar to that, if we go down with the pitch wheel, we get a high-pass filter. And there's some Thor controls here that can change some of the behavior of these two different filters. So we have resonance controls for both of them. And we also have some filter FM that we can fade in using this amount control. And we have a pitch control for the filter FM source oscillator. Okay, and that's not the end of the Thor controls by any means in this patch. We actually have a Thor that controls every one of the distortions. So you can see here we have distortion 1 CV, and it'll go all the way down to 8. So there are 8 different Thors here that control each one of the distortions, their individual damage or drive amounts, and a parameter associated with them. If it's a Scream 4, then it's parameter 1 on Scream 4. On the guitar amp, it's the presence control. And on the pulverizer, it is the squash control. So you can adjust these exactly to your liking to tweak the exact amount of distortion on each one of the different channels. But do keep in mind that this overall drive control will adjust all of the distortions. So if you set them up exactly the way you want and then you move this, they're all going to reset to the exact same value. As far as what sounds work best with distorted goodbye, sustained sounds seem to be what I have the best luck with, just because you can chop those up into something more rhythmic using the 8 sequence distortion channels. But I've also used it on drums with longer attack and release parameters and got some really cool stuff too. So have fun with distorted goodbye.